Okay, it's been quite some time since I've done a pickups video. I've picked up quite a bit of stuff. Anyways, and I will be showing one thing I haven't shown in quite some time, but let's get into it. Like I always like to do is start off with the oldest, all the way up to the newest things I have as far as, games and movies, whatnot. Music. Here's an original Paperboy for the Game Boy. I played this way back in about probably early 90s, 91 through like probably 93. Had to have it. Didn't come with the manual, but hey, that's okay. This game I don't think I've ever played or hadn't played it in a very, very long time. That is Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy. Here's the manual. Great artwork here. There's some more. I like that. I mean, it's not full color artwork, but it is, colorful artwork. Sticking with handheld, go to the Game Boy Advance. Now, I'd ordered this, and the picture had on Amazon, a picture of the actual Paperboy Game Boy cartridge. But hey, it's cool to have this game. This is the original Paperboy, the arcade version, and the arcade version of Rampage, both of which have been ported fairly well. The controls on both are a little wonky, but the games are playable once you get used to the controls and the semi-bad hit detection. Zelda: A Link to the Past with 4 swords. Unfortunately, I can't use the 4 swords part of the game because I don't have another Game Boy, nor do I have a link cable. And yes, I know I can find both of those for cheap, but I just don't have any friends to play the game with at the moment. But it's a great game, very faithful port. Some sound effects have been added. A new section has been added to the Lost Woods area, or the Dark Woods area, I think, of the game. Yes, that is not present in the original A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. But having a lot of fun with playing this game again. I'm probably going to beat it on the Game Boy Advance before I beat it on the SNES. Super Mario Advanced 4, also known as Super Mario World. This is a port of the Super Nintendo game. Very good port. Once again, there's added sound effects here. The colors are a little washed out on this version. I think they added a few new moves as well to this game, and a couple of newer elements in the newer Super Mario games. But that's fine. It's a great port. It's a little bit easier than the Super Nintendo version, but that's a great help, especially for kids. So I highly recommend that game. Super Mario All-Stars. I've had this one for a while. I'm not sure if I showed it in a previous pickups video, but great game. I hadn't played it for many, many years. I think I played it like at a friend's house or at a babysitter's house way back in the day when Super Nintendo was the most popular system around. But it's great to have all these games in one package. Yes, they've been updated. The graphics have been updated, but still, very fun game. Nothing detracts from it. And this Game Boy manual came with the Kirby's Dreamland, strangely enough. So now I have like 2 or 3 of those now. Aladdin. This game is different from the Genesis version. I also have the Genesis version, but this game I grew up playing and absolutely had to have it. Got it for a great price too. The Jungle Book. I had never played this. I heard a lot of great things about it, and it's actually a lot of fun. It's a platforming, running and jumping game, very similar to Aladdin. I think it was made by the same team that did Aladdin as well, and has really good music in it too. There's also a Super Nintendo edition of the game that is slightly different from that version. Getting into more modern stuff. I really thought about buying this game again, and I really decided against it, but I don't know why. I mean, I had to play it, and I'm probably going to eventually get through the tough sections of the game eventually. And that game is Driver. I used to have this. This is an original black label edition of the game. Great game. It does have a few flaws, but it's a pretty solid racing game overall. Driver 2. Unfortunately, the same thing cannot be said about this game. Once you get to a certain point in the story mode of this game, I think it's like it's in the Mexico level of the game or city. As you're driving, and it doesn't matter, once you've hit this point in the game, the car just drops straight out of the road and into pretty much like a pit. It's a glitch, and I really wish they would have fixed it with this version of the game, but unfortunately they did not. If the game had not had that flaw, this game would be pretty much flawless. It's solid, it has great sound effects. The sound effects are a little artificial, but you know, if you pump them up on a pretty good stereo, they sound pretty good. Full of, you know, the game's full of life, realistic, you know, driving physics for the most part. Interesting story if you play through that. This is the greatest hits edition of the game, if you didn't already notice. And this is pretty much the edition I grew up with. I did have an original, and I did have a greatest hits edition in my original collection, which I've unfortunately never had a chance to show on this channel. That was 3 years too early. I continually regret selling my original collection, because I think all the games I had were, for the most part, black labels. Here's Primal Rage, pretty good port of the arcade game. Hopefully one day this game is released on the PlayStation Network, and I talked about that in a much earlier video. This game's also available on the, they may have released it for PC back in the day. It's also available on one of the Midway Arcade Classics collections on the PlayStation 2. That's a pretty good port as well. This one looks a little better. It'd be nice if there was full cooperation by the original game developer. That'd be really nice. That way we can get a much more faithful arcade port of the game. It could be ported to the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live service. But here's the inside. Came with the manual. It's weird though that the manual is actually has mold on it, but it's interesting. It's in black and white, so it's really not much to look at, really. Unfortunately, kind of sticking with the older video games. Here's an official Prima guide for The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D on the Nintendo 3DS. It has a bonus, includes free mobile e-guide and character clings, which is really cool. I'll probably end up using that here pretty soon, crack this open and get that on my phone or something before it expires. So that's really, really neat. Had to have this since I already do have the Hyrule Historia book. Here's the side here. That's really, really cool. I like that interesting font there. I've seen it elsewhere, probably somewhere at like Renaissance Festival or something. So, still sticking with, you know, fairly modern stuff. I think this is the first edition of the Sony PS3 Blu-ray or media / Blu-ray disc remote control. There's a second edition of it. It's lighter. People said the buttons feel cheaper. I had to have this since I do use PlayStation 3 for, you know, playing DVDs, sometimes for music, Blu-rays, and Amazon Prime instant video. So perfect for that. Definitely worth your $20 or whatever you're going to pay for it, really. I wouldn't pay anything over $30 for it. Just not worth it to me. I have to cut to the next part. Here is World of Warcraft, Tides of Darkness. This works on MS-DOS and Macintosh. Is the original CD-ROM. It's came in a brand new case. It's probably been buffered. You're gonna have to go to part 2 here pretty soon. There's my face, and just meet me over in part 2.